in conversation with Marcia Lee Laycock. Marcia's writing began in the attic of her parents' home where she wrote poetry and short stories for her doll. She says they never complained, so she kept it up. Since those humble beginnings, her works have been published in magazines, newspapers, and anthologies in both Canada and the US, and has been broadcast on radio across Canada. Marcia's fiction and nonfiction has won many prizes, including the Best New Canadian Author Award for a Fox novel, One Smooth Stone, published by Castle Quay Books. The sequel, A Tumbled Stone, was included on the shortlist for another award. The first book on a middle-grade fantasy series, Journey to a Strong Tower, also won an award from the World Guild, a Christian Writers Organization based in Ontario, Canada. Marcia has taught many writing workshops and is a sought-after speaker for Christian women's groups. And on today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure and joy to have on the show today Marcia Laycock. How are you doing, Marcia?
I'm doing fine. Thank you, Peter. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show, really. It's exciting. We're going to be having a conversation around your writing. So excited.
Me too.
Yeah. So, Marcia, your bio says you began writing for dolls, and I would love to say you have such an amazing and thrilling bio. So, you must have been very young, and that wants me to ask you, when did you know you wanted to become a writer?
Well, that's easy for me to pinpoint, Peter, because it was on my 11th birthday. I
Oh,
received a book from my aunt called Emily of New Moon by a Canadian writer, Lucy Maud Montgomery. And Ella Montgomery is famous for her Anne books, the Anne of Green Gables books. But she also wrote other series, and one of them was the Emily series. And Emily
oh,
was a writer even when she was very young. So I was really excited to find a book that was talking about a young girl being a writer because that's what I was doing. And so at the age of 11, I was really excited to find out that you could call yourself a writer. And so at the age of 11, that's what I determined someday I would be.
hmm. Wow, that's amazing, really. I love your start and I love knowing how you became a writer. Now, one of your books is titled Marigold's Very Best Home. I'd love to ask you, for readers who haven't read it yet, and without giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what we'd expect in terms of themes picking up Marigold's Very Best?
Sure. This is my latest publication, and it's been really exciting to see it come out and go into the hands of children. It's a children's book. I have a picture of the cover here. It's
Wow,
a
beautiful.
children's book for about age 2.5, 3 to about 7. And it's
Wow,
a little story about a little girl who thinks that God put her in the wrong house because her parents make her eat vegetables she doesn't like and take
wow,
naps when she doesn't want to. So she decides that she needs a new home. So she runs off to find a new place to live. And she
wow,
goes and visits a whole bunch of animals in her neighborhood, 5 animals altogether, a puppy, a raven, a fox, a pony, and finally a pig. And then
wow.
in the end, she discovers that none of those houses, none of their homes are suitable for her. So she
Mm.
ends up going back home and realizes that she really has the very best home.
Wow. Wow, that's such an amazing one. I love the sound of that. Thank you so much for sharing. And
You're
now,
welcome.
you have written in several different genres in both fiction and non-fiction. And I want to say that I'm quite intrigued by your large bodies of works. Very amazing to me, really. Congratulations on all of them. But then
Thank
I'd
you.
like to ask you, do you have a favorite genre? Do you have one that particularly stood with you?
Well, I think I like them all equally in a way. They're also different.
Mm,
My first book was a devotional book, and this is the latest edition of that. It's in its third edition now, so it's been
wow.
doing well. And that came about when I was asked to write a faith column in a local newspaper. And I did that for about almost 18 years, I think it was. And so I
Wow.
had quite a large body of work that was just sitting there. And people began asking me to put those articles into a book so they could give them to friends and family. So
Mm,
I decided to do that. It was with fear and trembling because it was just a self-publishing effort. But I did that, and the first edition of that book sold quite quickly to the audience that I already had who had been reading my column.
mm,
So that was the beginning of writing for publication, that faith column, and then that little book. And I still continue to write devotionals now as well. I have a devotional column on my blog, which is on my website. And I also write devotionals for other places as well on the web and print, print publications as well. But lately I've been focusing on fantasy and mostly for the middle grade age group. So about grade or ages 11, 12 to about 14 or so. And I
mm,
really love fantasy. I read a lot of fantasy and sci-fi when I was young, and so those roots kind of go pretty deep.
mm.
But I've also enjoyed writing the contemporary novels. I've written two, as you mentioned from my bio, I've written two contemporary novels. This one is One Smooth Stone,
Wow.
and and then the sequel to it is A Tumbled Stone.
Wow.
And those were really fun to write in a way. They're not they're rather serious books, though they deal with some serious issues. But I've had just tremendous responses from readers who've read these books and been
Wow.
moved and changed in some way. So that's been a
Wow.
real encouragement to me. I hope to someday write the third book in this series. That's on my list.
Wow. That's amazing, really. That's even very commendable. The fact that you've written in different genres. Most people struggle to even complete one or two genres. Most people are very good in a particular one and like a bit of spice in the other ones. While some people are just so talented in, bringing different genres together in literature. So that's quite commendable that you've been able to write in different categories and genres. Very commendable, really.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, you also have another book titled Love in the Room, and I love the title particularly. Would you like to tell us a bit about the making of that as well?
Yes, that's a little devotional book, Love in the Room, and
Yeah.
it's focused on Christmas. The subtitle is Pondering the Christ of Christmas. And it is, again, a collection of little devotionals, short devotionals that people can pick up and read easily and quickly.
Mm,
And I put it together at a request again from people who wanted to focus just on the Christmas time. And
wow.
then I decided to put a companion book with it. So I wrote this is a little book simply called
Interesting.
Christmas. And that's a little book of short stories. So these are very small, as you can see, they're not very big books.
Yeah.
And I kind of designed them that way so that they could be stocking stuffers. Don't know if they do Christmas stockings in Nigeria, but over in North America here, we put out Christmas stockings. And the idea is that if you've been good, you get good things in your stocking. If you've been bad, you get a piece of coal or something
Oh, wow.
nasty. So I designed those for stocking stuffers so people could give them as gifts at Christmas time.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Marcia. I love the sound of it. Now, apart from the books we've mentioned thus far, do you have any other works you've authored or currently working on?
Yes, right now I'm working on another fantasy. This one will be for older teens, so they call it a young adult um, genre, and been really enjoying working on that. It's been a lot of fun. It's a fantasy novel, as I said, that is about a young girl who ends up being connected to very strongly to a flying horse, so a horse with wings. And she has a lot of trouble in her life, and needs to learn to trust people because she's been badly hurt in her life.
Mm.
But slowly she begins to believe that these people that have taken her in really do love her, and she has many challenges and many adventures with her flying horse. So that's
Wow.
been a lot of fun to work on. And also, I just have come out with this little book. It's also a devotional book for writers. And
Beautiful.
we have been producing these books. There'll be three of them. And we're doing a little, I call it a pilgrimage, a writer's pilgrimage on
Oh.
a platform called the Book Hatchery, which is with my publisher, the publisher who published my little children's book.
Mm.
She suggested that we do this little pilgrimage with people who will read the devotionals in the book and each week. And then on the Saturday following, we get together by Zoom and discuss what they've read and the things that they've learned.
Wow.
And then after five weeks, it runs for 5 weeks, and then we have a reading time when they can read things that they have written through the course of the pilgrimage. So
Wow.
this is the second time we've done this one, and it's gone very well. It's been a real blessing to me, and the others who've taken it have said they've been really blessed by it as well. So that's keeping me pretty busy.
Wow. I love the sound of that. And that's such an interesting concept, really. Sounds like a mini book club, you know?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
I love the sound of it. An amazing innovation, really, because I've been thinking of starting one in my city here by April ending. So that's amazing. That's
I hope I've
lovely.
inspired you.
Thank you. Now, I'd love to ask you, Marcia, what is the best advice you have ever been given as a writer? I don't know if you can remember. You'd love to talk about that.
Well, I've received a lot of advice over the years because
Mm,
I've attended many writers' conferences. It's one of the things I was encouraged to do when I
yeah.
first started writing. And so I've met a lot of writers who've gone before me and writers who've had a lot of success in their careers. So I've received a lot of good advice. Some of it maybe not so good, but I have had a lot of good advice. But one of the things that stuck with me and that has proven to be a real wonderful skill to have is to develop the skill of show, don't tell in your
Mm,
writing. So instead of stating something and telling something, to show it by the person's voice or their actions, their body language, all of these things, using the five senses, all of those things that really can bring your characters to life and bring your story to life. So that's a skill that I have worked on a lot, and it's one of the skills I teach. I do a course on fiction and a course on devotional writing as well, and I teach that skill in both of those courses because you can use it in any kind of writing you do, whether you're writing articles or short stories or full-length novels, whatever you're writing, you can use that skill, and it's very, very effective. So I think that's the best tip that I've ever had. The other tip I think that has been really valuable to me was that writing is not a solitary endeavor. We think of it that way because it's just you sitting at a computer or sitting down with a pen and pencil or whatever, and you don't think that there are other people involved. But there really needs to be other people involved. You need to have a community around you who are able to help you because you can't do everything yourself when it comes to publishing, and
absolutely.
for encouragement. And I'm part of a small critique group here in the town where I live, and that's been wonderful because the fantasy I'm working on right now, we send out little excerpts of what we're writing on, and then everyone critiques it and gives their comments on it and corrects the spelling mistakes and things that you've missed as you've gone along, and that's really, really helpful.
Mm,
So I think that's another thing that has really helped me to know that I need to connect with other writers.
wow. I love your take on that, Marcia. I so much love your take on that. Sounds quite amazing to me. So thank you so much. That's amazing, really. That's a whole ton of impressive, writer advice and all of that. Beautiful, really.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, could you tell us what publishing is like for a published author like yourself? Are there any challenges you've encountered in the process of writing this book and also ever since we got published?
Yes, there have been many, many challenges. And I think all writers discover that as they go into the publishing realm.
Yeah.
My very first book, this little devotional spur of the moment, um, when I put that together, I just took that to a local printer and
Yeah.
worked with them to produce the book. And that was good, but not as a professional as I would have
Expected it to
liked, that
be.
first one
Yeah.
that was produced. So from there I went to a small publishing company in Ontario, and I met one of the men who worked for them. His name was Gus Henney.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, he's passed away now, but he was a wonderful man and
Oh.
really helped me a lot to produce a really good professional product that I could be
Hmm.
proud of to sell to people and to give to people. So that was the beginning of it. And then, of course, I went on. And when I won the Best New Canadian Christian Author Award, I was able to work with a royalty publisher or
Wow.
traditional publisher. And that was a different experience again.
Yeah.
And there's always learning curves. At every step along the way, there's a
Absolutely.
different process. And I'm still learning. When I published Marigold, the little children's book, now I had to learn to work with an illustrator, which was a totally different thing for me. I'd never done that before.
Hmm.
And so that was a different process again. And I loved it. It was really a lot of fun. I was really fortunate and blessed to have a wonderful young woman from Winnipeg, Manitoba,
Wow.
or she's near Winnipeg, who designed all and did all the artwork for the book.
Wow.
And I'll just show you a couple of the little pictures in the book that she did. This is
Wow. Wow.
one where
That's
she's
amazing.
in the chicken coop,
Interesting. Yeah.
and she discovers that the chicken coop is very noisy and she doesn't like it so much. And then she meets a pony,
Amazing,
so
really.
all the working with her to choose the illustrations, and we went back and forth. Sometimes she did something I didn't like when she drew the picture of the man, the father.
Yeah.
She gave him quite a big nose, and I didn't like that. So I said, no, I think I want a normal nose. So she came back with another drawing for me. So it was a back and forth process, and really a
Hmm.
lot of fun and exciting to see the text in picture form. It was really fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's amazing, really. I love the sound of that. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Now, as a published author, what sort of advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with publishing a book? What would you advise people in this category?
I think the best advice I can give is to do your best with the writing. Do
Yeah.
the research that you need to do to make sure it's a good story and a good product that you can be proud of,
Mm.
and be persistent. It takes a lot of persistence to publish and to put your books out into the world.
Yeah.
But I think if you that called to do to write for other people, that you, in a
Absolutely.
sense, have an obligation to then do the best you can and to get it out there and put it out into the world where people will
Yeah.
find it and be helped by it.
That's great. Thank you so much for your advice, and I'm hopeful that viewers, including myself, will love to utilize it. Now, Marcia, in case we have some viewers who are currently watching this interview, I would love to get a copy of your books. On what platform is it available on for purchase?
Um, well, they can find all of my books on my website, which is just marcialeelaycock.com. And the Marigold book is available through as well, which is Serotonin Creative Publishing, and that will come up and you can find the book there. And
Mm.
they're also all, so you can find them on your Amazon link.
That's great. And I left a link in the discussion part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Marcia Laycock's books directly on Amazon and also another platform. So thank you so much, Marcia, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's awesome having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Peter. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure as well. And I totally enjoy it as well. Thank you.